the fact that there is a hidden force, a hidden hand manipulating human society in a particular direction. I'm going to read two pieces of text, and they were written 23 years apart. First of all, a short section from a book I wrote in 1994. And in this part of it, it's called And the Truth Shall Set You Free. I'm talking about the plan for a cashless society where there's no physical money, and the only way that you can pay for anything is electronically. And also pointing out that the ultimate goal, the ultimate aim, is to create a global electronic currency where there's no euro, no sterling, no dollar, just a single world digital currency. And this is what I say. The global currency is not intended to be physical money. It will be entirely credit, figures on a computer screen. The plan is to replace all paper money and coins, and even credit cards eventually, with a barcode inserted under the skin of every human being. The barcoding would be programmed with all the details about us, including our financial assets. You would go into a shop and pay for the goods by holding the barcode, probably in your wrist, over a beam at the checkout. This will read the barcode, check that you have enough credit, and reprogram your under-the-skin bank statement to remove the amount you have just spent. So that was written originally in 1994. And here's another piece of text from a newspaper article this very week. It's headlined, "The Cynical Conspiracy to Stop Us Using Cash." It's a mainstream report. I thought there were no conspiracies. They were just theories, weren't they? But of course they're not. And the writer says that you could once go across a bridge or a toll crossing, and you could pay with coins. But now he says he's noticing that you can't. You have to do it electronically. You must pay online in advance of the journey, or by midnight the following day. No more, I want to go across here, pay for it, job done. And then he goes on to quite rightly list how we are being manipulated into a cashless society. Try to park your car on a London street or in an increasing number of car parks nationwide, he says, and you'll be hard pressed to find a pay and display machine. The only way to pay is via your mobile phone, to call a central number, or by an app such as Ringo or Just Park. Some shops, such as the healthy eating chain Toast, are even starting to refuse cash. They're only interested in customers who pay by card. Waitrose is also, that's a supermarket for people around the world, Waitrose is also piloting cashless payments, while in so many pubs, bars and restaurants you are immediately offered a card reader along with the bill. And he goes on, staff might seem mightily put out if they have to use the till. As for travel, the government aims to make all rail travel cashless by 2025, with passengers buying their tickets online with a bank card or via their mobile phone. Indeed, he says, the growing use of card and contactless payments is such that this week ATM operators announced they are considering axing 10,000 machines from their networks. The cashless economy is being forced on us, the writer says, by stealth, as electronic payment increasingly becomes the only option. The argument is in favour of convenience, but the truth is it's all about greed. Well, I'll come back to that in a minute. And he goes on, firstly, there is the opportunity, talking about greed, to collect fees. The Boston Consulting Group estimates that banks and payment companies such as Visa and MasterCard currently make $1 trillion annually worldwide in fees, typically paid by the retailer for processing electronic payments. Well, yes, there is a greed element to it in the sense that banks make money from the payments. But as I pointed out in that book 23 years ago, it's not in its foundation about greed or money. It's about control. And since I highlighted nearly 2.5 decades ago that the plan was to get rid of cash, we have seen, and increasingly so, this incessantly happening month by month by month now. Some countries like Sweden are getting close to cashless already. But what is it really about? If you go into a store or a shop now, and you hand over electronic money, credit card, and the machine won't accept your card, then you can still purchase because you can use cash. What happens when there is no cash and there's no alternative to the electronic payment that machine will not now accept? How do you buy anything? And if you are a dissident of this gathering global system of control, you will go off the Christmas card list of the machine very early on. And then how do you buy anything? The only alternative to that would be barter. But the plan is to make barter illegal, not least on the basis of we can't tax it. So where we're heading is a system whereby anything you purchase is known and recorded wherever you are, whatever it is. And a system which has the power, quite demonstrably, to dictate if you can purchase anything. What we've seen, the usual pattern, what I call the totalitarian tiptoe, step by step by step, all in the same direction, while you're kidding people that, oh no, all the steps are not connected. They are. You've seen big cash bills taken out of circulation, a ban on how much cash can be carried around, and increasingly the replacement of cash itself by credit cards and phones. And this is going on towards the cashless society. But it's going further than that. Of course, I mentioned in the book 23 years ago about the fact that the plan is for microchips to replace everything. So you'd have a microchip under your skin, and that would be how you paid. So when you look at credit cards now and contactless payments taking over so fast from cash, it's not where it's meant to end. The next stage is to replace credit cards and even contactless payments with this form of contactless payment, or whatever method they choose to chip the human race. And you know, the article rightly describes how this cashless society has been brought about by stealth, and the fact that increasingly it's impossible to work with cash. You try traveling these days or booking a hotel with cash. So the idea is to make it more and more and more difficult. Oh, it's not compulsory. Oh, it's not compulsory. You've still got cash. It's just that you can't use it. The idea is to go on down this road until eventually there's no cash but just the chip. And in the same way that we've reached this point by stealth, making it much more and increasingly more difficult to use cash, so that stealth totalitarian tiptoe is being used and will go on being used to take us to the microchip, in the sense that, oh no, these microchips are not compulsory, just that you can't buy anything if you don't have one. Same predictable technique and methodology. But then I guess if it's worked before, why change it? And this cashless society is one key element in a whole transformation of human society to total control that involves almost every area of our lives. Indeed, it does. So you cannot divorce, if you want to see what's going on, you cannot divorce what I've just been talking about, the manipulation to the cashless society and the microchipped human, from the fact that our freedom of speech and our freedom of communication is being squeezed by the day. Here's a story from this week. I'll just read you the headline in the first line. New assault on press that could let criminals, corrupt business leaders, and cheating members of parliament escape being exposed. Criminals, corrupt business leaders, and cheating MPs could avoid being exposed under a fresh assault on press freedom. He goes on to describe amendments to something called the Data Protection Bill going through Parliament. And in the same way, you can't divorce the cashless society from the increasing censorship of information. You can't divorce that story from Silicon Valley and Google, YouTube, owned by Google, Facebook, Twitter, who are increasingly openly, blatantly using algorithms to filter out information that the system doesn't want people to see. And we are, whether people want to face it or not, well, that's up to them. But we are in the midst now of a plan that's been going on for so long, way, way back, beyond what people could even imagine possible, that is now breaking the surface where more and more people can see it. And yet still, you have the mainstream media, you have mainstream society that just can't see what is there, for goodness sake. We are heading towards what I've described for some time now as the Hunger Games society, a society in which the 1%, less than 1%, sit on top of this pyramid of control, and virtually everyone else is at the bottom of the pyramid in a state of ongoing slavery and control. And in between those two, in that pyramid, is planned to be a merciless, vicious police state, imposing the will of the 1% or less on the population and ensuring that that pyramidal status quo stays in place. And you know, if you want to have just a little bit of an idea of how this police state is planned to behave, then look at the way the Spanish police were extraordinarily violent against people in Catalonia just lining up, trying to vote about independence. And that's small deal, appalling as it was, to what this military police, it's meant to be, the military and the police are meant to fuse eventually into one global operation. And we are seeing, not least justified by terrorism, every terrorist attack means we've got to take more of your freedoms away. So it's worth asking who benefits from terrorist attacks. And there's a line which basically goes, he who benefits from a crime is the one most likely to have committed it. We are seeing this police military state unfolding daily, weekly, monthly now, imposing the will of the state upon the population. At the same time that the Googles and the Facebooks are deleting the free flow of information, that there's more and more pressure on the mainstream press even to be more and more censored. At the same time, the cash is disappearing and we're heading towards a cashless society. All these things and so much more are all connected and all pushing us in the same direction to a world, excuse me, to a world in which we have a world government, world central bank controlling all finance, including the world electronic currency, a world army imposing the will of the world government, and that's meant to be evolved out of organizations, particularly NATO, but other military organizations. And a microchip population, and a lot more than that, but a microchip population connected to a technological mind known as artificial intelligence, AI, which would actually do all human thinking. And they're openly talking about it now. Been in my books for years that this was the plan, and there it is. So perhaps some reports of my madness were greatly exaggerated, and maybe what appeared to be crazy was actually true. And daily we are seeing that is the case. It really is beyond the time for humanity to wake up to the world they live in rather than the world they are told they live in.